Good day, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Avoid Test Rejection, Insider Tips to Meet Submission Requirements and Ethical Standards. We are thrilled to guide you through this important conversation around AI in academic settings. We'll explore not just the challenges, but also practical solutions that go beyond toward trust, transparency, and empowerment. So, before we begin, here's a quick disclaimer. All content used on this presentation is owned or licensed by Crimson Interactive or if its affiliates. Some content may have been blocked for confidentiality reasons. Unauthorized use is strictly prohibited, and we sincerely appreciate your compliance. Your active involvement is key to making this webinar a resounding success. So throughout our session, feel free to share your burning questions and insights using the questions tab in the control panel. Our expert will answer your questions during the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. If you can see on the next slide, the Q&A tab will be placed below on the panel. So before we begin, let me introduce our esteemed speaker, Dr. Amita Kotare, quality expert at Enago. Dr. Kotare holds a PhD in life sciences with over 10 years of experience in academic and industry research publishing. As a quality expert at Enago, she has conducted quality checks on more than 500 manuscripts, ensuring that they meet the highest technical and ethical standards. Dr. Kotare also manages premium pre-submission services for global researchers and is a recognized STEM education trainer, having led over 30 college-level workshops and multiple national and district-level training sessions. With that, I'll hand things over to her. Dr. Amrita, the floor is yours.
Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for that very warm welcome. Now, before we get into or we deep dive into today's webinar, I have a quick question for everybody. Everybody who has joined here, quickly give me a thumbs up for all those who have faced a desk rejection prior to joining this workshop. Yes, can I have quick responses from the attendees? If any of you have faced test rejections before this webinar. Okay, I can see a few hands there. Okay, to be a part of this author group, even I will give a thumbs up that I was also part of this particular zone where test rejections to the researchers are a common point. So let's understand how we get or how these test rejections affect the entire publishing cycle of a manuscript and what can be done to avoid them. So overall, when we keep saying a test rejection, it is a rejection of the manuscript by a journal editor even before the peer review, it is sent out for the peer review and the decision is quickly made. It is usually on the basis of the initial impression of the overall manuscript, its fit, quality, and relevance to the journal scope. Now, test rejections usually happen because of avoidable issues in most cases, like formatting errors, submitting to the wrong journal, missing key sections like abstract, say discussion, conclusion, or sometimes even references. Now, overall, this process of test rejection, that is, rejecting a manuscript with few checks immediately at the initial stages, is an extremely important gatekeeping function wherein a journal editor uses this as a filtering mechanism to ensure that only the most suitable manuscripts proceed ahead at the peer review stage, which also helps them to manage, their heavy submission volumes at their end. Now, to understand or to think of it, how is this different than a peer review rejection? So in a peer review rejection, a rejection usually happens after an expert has reviewed your manuscript, okay, and they have pointed out in-depth flaws, probably which are related to methodological rigor, lack of novelty, insufficient contribution to the field, or say data analysis, some major reasons, content and quality related, which overall contribute to a peer review rejection. In contrast to which is a desk rejection, which is quicker based on surface level checks. We will come on to what the surface level checks are and how to comply with them for a successful submission. Now, usually, yes. So usually we ask, like, when as authors, when we prepare our manuscript, we are so involved in it that we try to make it is meaningful, it is rigorous, and still if we receive a rejection, it's very disheartening. What does it tell us? It tells us that not always a good research does guarantee a publication, because even high quality work can get desk rejected if it does not perfectly align with the journal scope or formatting rules. So it's like one of the misstep and the manuscript can be out of the publication cycle. The situation is further difficult for non-native speakers because they are expected to navigate through complex submissions and avoid language issues. And along with that, they have to meet expectations for which they may have been never been trained for. In addition to all these, the new ethical, minefield that has come up, which includes issues like plagiarism, AI usage, can cause immediate rejection. If, they can be unintentional as well, but these can also trigger immediate rejection sometimes for multiple journals, which can be frustrating, and it can overall delay, about your overall academic progress. So when we come to think of it, it's not just about science, it is about the complete strategy that we apply for publication, the awareness of publication norms to survive this publication system. Now, if I have to show you a few numbers that are extremely staggering from famous publishers on screen currently, the desk rejection rates at Elsevier's end is around 30 to 50%, which means that every single or every second manuscript that the journal receives is rejected. If we look at the numbers for Sage, we see that more than 50% the rejection rate is there. For desk rejection specifically, that means half of the research that is sent in these journals is desk rejected. Much of it is definitely from experienced academics, and much of it never even enters the peer review stage. So when we are talking about the mainstream publishers, okay, if the manuscript does not pass the first editorial filter, it does not stand a chance on how good, does not stand a chance for further publication, no matter how good the research is. Now, let us understand a few more reasons about why the desk rejection, or for the common causes of why usually the authors have to face desk rejections, and to understand how widespread these causes are. Why do they happen? So if we look at the screen, there are four major reasons that are listed here. Each of this reason is preventable. Sometimes it is overlooked as well while submission. So let us look at the first reason, which is the research question and scope. The research question, the problem statement, is something that is a very, very crucial aspect of your manuscript. So each time, as a researcher, when you sit and you have written down your paper and you look at your introduction section and you ask yourself, what gap does my research fill? Or what gap does this paper fill? And you have to get a clear cut answer that it is a significant contribution in oncology or it is a breakthrough process in biochemistry. You have to get a clear answer that at which stage or what gap this particular research question or a research gap your manuscript is filling. This aspect contributes to the novelty factor of your manuscript. So when the research question is strong, the novelty aspect is strong, the significance is strong, then this particular cause often does not lead to problem. But if it is not, then it becomes a significant factor in getting desk rejected. Lack of novelty, lack of a strong problem statement. Coming to the next very critical and a very, very, these days, the ethics and procedural compliance are extremely crucial to adhere with. Desk rejections are immediate when issues like plagiarism or self-plagiarism are detected, even if they are unintentional. Okay, even if they're unintentional, if they get detected in the manuscript, then the manuscript is test rejected. As we all are aware, tools like Turnitin, Authenticate easily flag overlapping text, and these are like part of the pre-submission or the pre-peer review checks that a journal undertakes, and the editor flags these issues very, very swiftly. Other reasons, the one of the most trending reasons these days is AI. AI usage, that is AI content detection, authorship compliance. Authorship compliance meaning if you have ensured that all the authors who are contributing are listed as co-authors, any contributing authors is not missed out. Another factor is simultaneous submission to another journal. Multiple submissions at one time. Many authors do attempt this, that they undertake more than one submissions at a time, which is not ethical. Another next part is institutional review board approval, which is very, very critical, wherein you have to have approval from your institutional board, especially for studies which involve human subjects or animal studies. Next is a conflict of interest statement, if it is unclear or if it is not declared at all. And missing or informed content, especially in clinical, psychological, or survey-based studies, like how was the data obtained, how was the content obtained. These are few critical pointers, okay, which when not clearly expressed in the manuscript, in the initial or clearly expressed, it causes the initial rejection from the editorial desk. The third set is extremely avoidable. They are the most common parts that a researcher faces desk rejection for. That is about the manuscript structure quality, overall, the presentation quality. These are the areas where even where the manuscripts usually fail, even though the science or the research itself is strong. So a poorly written manuscript with, say, confusing introduction, say where there is no logical flow, there is too much technicality in the language. The introduction is full of jargon and vague sentences. The length is very long, sometimes overriding the overall length prescribed by a certain journal. It's poorly written grammatically. maybe the figures and tables are of too low quality or too ambiguous for somebody to determine the data from these particular, the data from these particular figures. So this unclarity, these overall make the manuscript hard to read, and they go on reducing the editor's confidence that your work will be further appreciated by the reviewers and readers. Therefore, editors, being gatekeepers of their brand, uh, if they think the manuscript does not look polished enough for their journal, they won't pass it through their initial quality filter. And we come to the final and a most surprisingly common category is journal mismatch. When we submit to a journal, it is very, very crucial that we meet the aims, the scope, the formatting requirements of that journal. If we do not meet any of this, that is the fastest way to get desk rejected. So generally, when such desk rejections happen, the authors usually receive a one-line mail from the journal that the manuscript is unsuitable for the journal, or it cannot be considered, or it is out of scope of the journal. So non-adherence to journal instructions, that is the formatting guidelines or instruction to authors, then if the journal or if the manuscript is out of journal scope, okay, like, or if the manuscript is not appropriate for the journal audience. For example, if you have submitted a basic review article to a journal which publishes high impact original research, then there is a mismatch in the audience judgment and that manuscript may get rejected. Last reason, high submission volume, which is extremely critical for accepting the manuscript that has come. High submission volumes usually get conveyed to the authors in decision letters, like we cannot accept the manuscript at this moment for publishing, or the manuscript, or we are there is lack of space at this particular point, or we cannot, your manuscript, we cannot prioritize it at the moment for publication. So all these sentences, which are politely conveyed, are indicative that the journal at their end has a very, very high submission volume, and the editorial checks, the initial editorial checks are very stringent for overall compliance, for novelty, for formatting, and for all the possible reasons that we have listed here, so that they are, they start rejecting the articles faster, so that there are no delays, in processing the articles which are going in for the peer review. This high submission volume glitch can usually be avoided. It is extremely avoidable by simply sending a pre-submission inquiry. Okay, so some journals, they give the details on their journal guidelines that authors can approach them. Simply write a good cover letter or a good summary of their work and submit it to the journal editor and ask them if the article is suitable and will it get considered in their particular journal, to which the journal editor responds to as yes or no. So this process, the pre-submission inquiry part, helps you to reduce the time lost in the review process. So always we have to treat the submission process, like a tailor-made job when we are submitting to each journal, that what is their compliance, what is their checks, what are the requirements to pass the initial check. To elaborate on what we said, or to get the closer idea of the percentage of manuscripts that are rejected because of the reasons that we saw in the previous slide, is like they are not just anecdotal, but they have been, a repeat pattern in the editorial reports, like as reviewed in 2025, that what are the major causes. So if we look at the first cause, that is weak research question or lack of novelty, it has accounted up to 41% of rejections. Next is manuscript structure and language clarity, which has accounted up to 18% of rejections. So editors often don't move forward with manuscripts that are difficult to follow, or they're poorly organized or not clearly written for that matter. Then comes ethical procedural issues that we saw previously. Around 8% of rejections are reported. So these includes plagiarism, authorship confusion, IRB approval lacking, etc. And finally, the highest and the most avoidable reason is scope mismatch and guidelines not being adhered to. So most of these causes, especially scope mismatch and structure, are extremely preventable with careful manuscript preparation and checks. Novelty, clarity, and ethical rigor require a lot of effort to rectify, but from the which has to be followed from the beginning of the research and the writing process. But something like the following of the journal guidelines, etc., all these issues are preventable if we follow them stringently from the point since we start writing the article. Now, how does desk rejection actually cause? How does it actually affect you in your entire, say, in your publication journey? So, in the first and foremost aspect, it causes a momentum lost. Now, what does this mean? What does this mean about like you lose momentum? Say you are in a certain flow of events in, say, your academic or your research career, and suddenly you're investing a lot of time, okay, in preparing the manuscript. Absolutely. And then when you start submitting, you receive a rejection even before the peer review begins. So it is more of a setback that one as a researcher one receives. Secondly, it breaks the bottlenecks. It creates a lot of bottlenecks in the publication strategy. So, many journals don't allow simultaneous submissions. And therefore, when you submit to one journal, you wait for their response, you get rejected, go back to square one. Then you go back to another journal, prepare the manuscript as per them, submit again. So this becomes, potential delay. And it also delays the impact of the research. Third is the rework overload. Of course, no, when we are submitting uh, it to different journals, we have to fix the manuscript as per the journal guidelines. Okay. Desk rejections usually stem from technical issues like formatting, language, or not, they are not because of correct science. So you address those issues, you again go back to reselecting the journal, matching the scope, submitting again. So it's like a rework cycle, which is not ending. And finally, all of this has costed us the most crucial factor in in the publication cycle, that is time. We the peer review or the response from a journal may extend for a few weeks before the decision is taken or before it may even reach the reviewers. Sometimes the response that you receive after waiting for this long is overly vague, or this time lost, this time lost in actually sharing or resubmitting. You can usually spend on refining your work or do some better data analysis or something, but no, you are into this loop. So desk rejection is not just associated, with the paper. It can really cost you, or it can affect your career or disrupt your, your planning. or slow down the overall progress that you may have in science. Some more cascading effects, if we have to look at in slight detail, are grant applications. Like if for grant applications, you are supposed to show your productivity, okay, through a set of publications, then definitely the desk rejection is the roadblock. Next is career advancement. Most of us in academia are dependent on publications or for our performances, some conference submissions, something. So if we keep receiving the test rejections, the number and the quality of the published papers, then definitely that affects the career advancement. So publication delays, they limit the achievement, that are associated with your scholarly career. Third and very significant, aspect is like delays in publishing can reduce the impact of your research, the novelty that the research holds. For example, simple relevance. COVID-19 research was extremely crucial and relevant from the period of 2020 to 2022. Of course, the post research also is significant, but the number of that impact which any novel research had in that period, we don't see the same impact in the later years. That's why the period of publication is extremely important for timely dissemination of research. For this we also have to account the years that we have spent in researching that particular aspects. So that is another crucial aspect that we have to focus on. So, in general, what we want to gist is that publication journey does not only slow down a paper, but they slow down a career, they may slow down funding, and the very purpose, of the research, that is to make a timely impact. Now, that brings me to a very, very important question, that since we have received or we have seen so many factors of desk rejections, how do we avoid it? So many of the common causes we have talked through, and we see that they are in our control, okay, through careful preparation of the manuscript, strict adherence to journal guidelines, which increase the significance of our submission and help us pass that editorial test. But we need a more, affirmative solution for us to consistently assist us in this journey. So at Enago, we have come up, with this 3-in-1 review pack. Now, this pack is like a solution, okay, which helps you address multiple issues at once. So this is called as the 3-in-1 review pack. It is very, very carefully designed with two critical aspects in mind. One is data privacy, which is very, very critical. And second is research integrity. That is designed with research integrity in mind, which is currently extremely crucial in scientific publishing. If I have to break it down or simplify it for you, what is included in the review pack? So you will get a similarity check or authenticate check report, which excludes, which highlights the relevant matches for plagiarism check, and you can focus on actual issues without being overwhelmed by unnecessary flags. Furthermore, it includes a AI writing detection report. So it can flag content that is popularly generated by ChatGPT, GPT-4, Bing Chat, and the popular LLMs around. Now, all of this content is strictly handled with confidentiality. There is no risk of your draft being, saved, reused, or exposed anywhere. So it is a very, very secure session-based process that is followed in this particular review pack. Now we'll talk about this review pack in detail. The 3-in-1 manuscript review pack is extremely comprehensive and it serves three essential quality checks into one streamlined solution. So the first, as I mentioned before, is a plagiarism check report that is powered by Authenticate, which I'm sure most of us are using it, the Authenticate's plagiarism check software. Now the match text presents percentages and sources. It helps you to catch any overlap early on. Okay. Second is the AI content detection report. This report identifies any portion of your manuscript that appears to be AI generated. This report is very critical for maintaining transparency and in the publishing environment currently. The third report, which covers key 25 elements, including formatting, reference accuracy check, manuscript structure, and more. So together, all of these things make a very, very comprehensive, clear, and they provide you with a very, very actionable snapshot of your manuscript before you submit it for a journal review. Overall, this pack is ideal for researchers who wish to avoid any last-minute surprises and ensure a smooth submission experience where they want to stay aligned with the best practices in publishing. Now we will explore each of the component in detail from this pack. So the first report, the first component is the plagiarism check report, which is powered by Authenticate. So the report that we offer here is similar to the Authenticate plagiarism report, which is like gold standard in academy integrity checks. This tool, why is it so significant? Because it checks the manuscript against the largest scholarly repository in the world. Okay, the metrics are on here where there are 190 million paid scholarly articles, 47 billion current and archive web pages, 200 million plus open access articles, 102 pages crawled and updated daily. This is very significant because this is a repository-based tool and it is unlike a web-based tool. So here there are many more resources where your data gets verified for plagiarism and it assists you in identifying the percentage of plagiarism and it highlights to you where you need to be worried and where you need to make the corrections. So this overall, the precision of the report, it highlights only the similarities, excluding references and bibliography. So you can really focus on real concerns and you don't have, any false alarms. So allow me a moment while we take you through the report. Yes. So I hope everybody is able to see my screen. So the Authenticate report overall lists down, okay, the findings of your manuscript. Suppose you run through this tool, it will give you the overall gist of what similarities have they recovered from the manuscript that you have submitted, okay? How many percentage is contributed by publications, how many by internet citations or sources, how many are non-cited, quoted, or missing quotations, overall metrics is provided. There is a list of sources that is provided over here for you to refer, okay? And there is a significant percentage word count as well for, you can see, okay, for source number 2, the similarity index is around 6%. So you will need to look for source number 2 in the report and the text that is associated with source number 2, like 1, like this is representative, and correct it so that the percentage similarity index, it comes down. The color coding is for reference purpose. More so, you need to refer to the number references. All right. So the plagiarism check report highlights the similarity index, the percentage similarity across each source. So it flags, okay, what you need to action immediately. So if you see, say, suppose number 51 has highlighted only this much part. So this is something that is very minor, which may not need rephrasing or correction. Okay, but if you see number 14 has contributed to an entire paragraph being similar to the source number 14. So you can cross-check the source. If it is self-plagiarized, then you need to take the next steps accordingly to mitigate that issue, rephrase the section, which will mitigate the similarity index check. And this report will help you bring down the plagiarism part or address the plagiarism percentage associated with your manuscript. Okay, coming along, the next report. Yes. So the next report, we spoke about the overall similarity index reports, the integrity flags, etc. The next report is the AI content detection report. Now, in the AI content detection report, the one that we offer here, it helps, it catches the text that is offered by wide coverage of LLM models. It is swift and it provides precise analysis, and it gives you a very, very quick overview with the score. Okay, so I'll show you the report. Overall, I'm showing you the key features first. So the report, okay, overall provides two types of scores. One is a paragraph level score, which reflects the model's confidence that each individual paragraph is AI generated or no. And following this approach, the overall model predicts the overall document score, that what is the likely index of the AI generated text in the overall document. So we'll go to the report to understand the overall functioning of this. So once, I hope my screen is visible. So once you submit your manuscript and we run through the AI content detection report, it shows you the overall score of how much percentage your text is likely to be AI generated. The features of this report are explained here, that it tries or it covers or explores the text provided by which of the LLM models here. The paragraph level score reflects model's confidence at each paragraph for AI generated or human generated. Okay. And it also gives you a color coding highlights for, say, yellow for 1 to 35%, say moderate 36 to 70, and above 70, it shows green for human generated and red for AI generated. So section-wise bifurcation on likelihood of your manuscript or your text to be AI generated or human generated is provided to you for you to analyze and rectify accordingly. Okay, furthermore, we'll proceed to the third report, that is the technical check report, which is part of this pack. I hope my screen is visible. Now, this technical check report serves as the final part, okay, of the 3-in-1 manuscript review pack. which it overall ensures that your manuscript meets the journal compliance, authorship, technical, ethical, and formatting requirements. This checks go beyond, they go beyond just spelling or grammar, and they cover critical areas like manuscript structure, authorship ethics. They also help you review the references, citations, anonymization, which are often overlooked and that can lead to desk rejection. Visual elements like figures and tables are evaluated for consistency, and the report usually flags issues with biases, professionalism, or language tone that might raise concerns with the editor. So overall, uh, in short, this report like provides you with a like a comprehensive quality control of your own manuscript, so that you enhance that best possible chance of acceptance. Now, if you see the overview over here, the technical check report, okay, usually is broken down into several key sections which are aligned with your manuscript, okay, and they check the compliance and give you the sections which meet the best practices that are followed by the journals and which do not, okay. So allow me to share this report with you and the functionality. Okay, I hope my screen is visible to everybody. Now, once the manuscript that we have under consideration is checked for technical checks, it gives you an overview like mentioned previously. So there are the type of checks that are conducted for a manuscript are these many: document structure, compliance checks, reference checks, figures and tables, anonymization checks, offensive word check. Okay, the same is elaborated here. You may choose to progress section by section, or if you're particularly interested in checking any section first, okay, you can select that directly. All right. We will go sequentially for us to understand. So, document structure. So, this checks the overall structure of the document for compliance with general journal guidelines. So, if you see the title, which generally has, the word limit at the journal end, about 10 to 50 words, and the character length between 500 to 200 characters. So, it determines whether your title is appropriate as per the set best practices or no. Furthermore, it detects the number of authors that are mentioned in the manuscript. It checks their affiliations. It maps their affiliations for us to know that if all the author affiliations are listed appropriately, corresponding author details are mentioned or no, that compliance is checked as well. So these checks may be, minor, but these are very, very crucial because we have to understand that as researchers, we may not write the entire manuscript in one go. We may write one part, or when the research is ongoing, we may keep the theoretical sections ready, add the method sections or the discussion or the conclusion sections subsequently. So, usually, the logical flow or the parts that we have added, we may not remember it in a continuous manner. So, a technical check report in one go helps you check and affirmate whether all of those sections are present or not. Now, when we come to abstract section, for this sample, it shows that it is only 97 words. That means it does not comply to the general benchmark of up to 250 words. Therefore, it is marked as a warning to the author for them to address this particular check that the manuscript needs to have. The abstract needs to be upgraded to meet the general journal guideline. Then comes citations in the abstract, which is a non-compliance. Generally, abstracts have to be standalone without any citations. So it has detected this as well as provided, what citation is present for the authors to check this issue and address it. Overall word count of the manuscript. So generally, the overall word count average for most of the articles is up to 5,000 words. So that is highlighted here, 1046. Of course, the authors can take this as a warning, because if there is a article type which is of lower word count, then this is acceptable and this warning can be ignored. If it is not, then authors have to add more data to their manuscript. The keywords that are mentioned over here. So it checks if you have mentioned keywords up to 6, generally up to 5 to 6 is the requirement of general journals. And then in case you are not able to find all the keywords, then there are few suggestions basis your articles as provided as well. Then it checks if the manuscript has all the sections which are part of a standard manuscript structure. Okay, like I mentioned in my initial introduction slide, one of the common reasons for desk rejections, is missing sections. So manuscript may not appear complete to the editor-in-chief. So it checks if the manuscript has all the sections or no. And if it does, it shows pass. If it doesn't, it may warn or mark this section as fail. All right. So you may toggle to the next compliance checks. So these compliance checks are usually related to financial disclosures, ethical approval statements, informed consent, conflict of interest, data availability, author contribution statement. Okay. Now this is a very interesting part. Author contribution statement, whether it's present or not present, is mapped here in this report. Additionally, now initially, if 4 authors were detected, this report also tells you if you have listed the author names and their contribution for all authors. So it will tell you that, okay, in author contributions present in both, meaning you have the name of the author is present as well as the contribution. But for author D, the name is not present. The contribution is not present, only the name is present in the list. So this helps you add that missing information into your manuscript. Okay, ethical approval statement. Now this is a fail. Okay, but you can check if this was applicable for the research that you're doing, and then consider this as pass or fail, and accordingly interpret the applicability of the advice given. Now, for the authors who want to go fast, okay, through the report, you can only focus on failed checks also, so that it quickly shows you only the areas where you have not, complied to the general journal guidelines and you have to improvise. Okay, that feature is also available. When we go to the next check, the reference checks, it checks the total number of references. Okay, it also helps you understand that how old, okay, are each and every reference, and it will mention the overall period over here. For the references which are not old, it will not mention anything. What does this help you strengthen? It helps you strengthen your literature review rigor, that old references which are too old, that those manuscripts, literature review, or if you have cited these references to prove the novelty or the strength of your study, then they may not be held as valid by the journal. So it is needed to upgrade. Okay. So that way it helps you to interpret and improvise on that aspect. All right. Reference validity. So this is a very, very important check, especially in today's times when many use AI to add references and most of them are not valid. Okay. So reference validity is very, very critical step here. Coming to the next step, which is figures and tables. This is our sample. So it has failed, say 2 out of 5 checks have been failed. So what has worked? Okay. So it shows that there are figures, tables, and schemes or charts have not been included in the manuscript. That means captions are there, but tables and figures are not there. So suppose if they are separate, you can ignore this fail. But if like you have forgotten to add that in your manuscript, then this is a reminder. Missing sections, rejection reason, you can correlate it here as well. It also shows you the order of citation. This is extremely interesting. In your manuscript, you are required to cite figure 1, table 1, then 2, then 3. So it shows you if the citation is sequential and correct or no. And it shows you where or at what point the citation is present and if the order is correct or no. That is also extremely important. It may just be overlooked. It may just be a typographical event, or it is unintentional. You remember we spoke about it in very initially when we were saying that unintentional reasons for test rejection. So this can just be a miss, but then that is a technical error in your manuscript which can cause a test rejection. So similar way, these aspects are checked and correction. So your figure 1, if you see the citation is present, citation order is correct, but the caption is missing. So this needs to be added into the manuscript. Schemes and captions. So this is warning. Now, generally, these are present, in specialty manuscripts like chemistry or nanotechnology or physics, wherever there are chart captions or scheme captions. So it's applicable to those studies. It will show you the required results accordingly. Coming to the anonymization checks, okay, this is extremely significant when you are preparing your manuscript for a double-blind peer review, okay, when you're preparing or a anonymized manuscript. So these checks you have to pay attention to when it shows you all areas where the author identity is revealed, okay, and then where if you are masking your manuscript, if you're masking the author identity, which are the areas that you need to focus on. So author name affiliations, funding statements, conflict of interest statements, okay, so ethical approval statements, self-citation statements, clinical registry numbers, personal information and documentation properties. So these are some areas which would, reveal the author's identity. And then comes, offensive word usage, like we have mentioned unintentional or typographical errors or word choice errors or jargons, etc. So this can be, so the word here, facts over, it can be anything. It can be vague, it can be frustrating, it can be any word. Okay. So it checks for that and it helps you address this completely under the overall technical check parameter. Overall, it brings us back to the home screen. So for us to understand that the manuscript has been run through all the technical checks and we can now address all the required parameters that were highlighted in the report. Okay, we'll go back to the presentation. I hope my screen is visible to everybody. Yes. So overall, the service, okay, that we offer here, it helps us. It helps us to address, or to support the authors to avoid test rejections and with quick and reliable pre-submission checks that we say. Okay, so this means that your manuscript is reviewed basically for scope, for format, for structure, and compliance checks before even you are planning it to submit to the journal, which will help you save, a lot of time that can be wasted if you wait for the peer review, wait to get test rejected. Okay, it can also help you improve your submission success rate at least from the initial checks to the peer review stage. Yeah, that is very, very crucial to pass the first desk of the editor and move to next day. So it helps you to break, getting caught in those endless cycles of rejection and resubmission and adjusting your manuscript from the, for next submissions. And perhaps most importantly, it will help you focus on your research and not just into the submission logistics, which, eventually causes a lot of stress on researchers. So instead of navigating through the formatting rules or guessing what the journal wants or imagining, oh, what will I receive? You can get a comprehensive and credible substantial checks and a manuscript that can be ready for peer review. Okay. So in short, I can say that we share your pre-submission stress so that your work gets attention faster and the one that it truly deserves. So overall, how does the process work? It's very, very simple. You just place an order where you select the 3-in-1 manuscript review pack with your editing request, with your editing order request. And once we have your document, we run our advanced AI tools and we will generate these 3 comprehensive reports, which are plagiarism, AI content detection, and technical compliance. And you will receive the reports as soon as your order is confirmed, giving you immediate insights and a head start, which can help you definitely in a successful publication. So overall, avoiding test rejection remains very much within our control if, like we mentioned previously, if we plan strategically, okay, and apply these steps in the early processing of the manuscript. Again, I list a few key steps and practices that the authors should follow before they approach for journal submission. Matching the journal scope, I think I have mentioned it, previously as well. Read the aims and the scope of journal carefully. Check the recent publishing. This is a very, very key factor. Even though your manuscript is within the aims and scope of that journal, you need to see in last 3 to 5 years what are the methodologies, what are the subject populations, what are the topics, okay, where the journal is focusing on. Is it focusing on similar or related methodologies that you have applied? Then the journal is certainly prioritizing the articles of this type. So you fall within the scope as well as the priority listing of the journal, which possibly reduces the desk rejection due to scope mismatch option that can be understood. Okay. And of course, consider sending a pre-submission inquiry if it is too much for you to read and determine if you have understood it correctly. You can always write to the editor and check if your manuscript complies to the journal or no. Secondly, follow the author guidelines like we have gone through. They are elaborate, all the correct format, structure, referencing style, include all the sections, all the technicalities correctly for you to get passed through the technical compliance to the guidelines. Novelty and contribution. Remember, we asked a question that what gap does my research fill? So this should be an upfront answer in the entire manuscript, and that should be the contribution of novelty that we have to address here. Compare with recent literature, recent meaning last 3 to 5 years, and clearly explain what is new or better in your study. Avoid the common red flags, okay? So overly narrow or local studies with broader, relevance. Avoid simultaneous submissions because that is something that is unethical. Yes, and submitting a review to a journal, okay, that publishes original research or vice versa. See, suppose not just review, even a case report. See that you're submitting to a journal which accepts that article type, moreover, you submitted to original research or some journal which does not accept that, then the common red flags need to be taken into consideration. Furthermore, always consider writing a very, very strong cover letter. Okay, briefly, you need to summarize what is the importance, novelty, and how does the article fit the journal to ensure that the abstract, or the cover letter and the abstract highlights the significant findings of your study. Cite appropriately. The next and a very crucial step is make sure your paper is well referenced. There are evidences of your findings, okay, for the same. Also, avoid excessive self-citations, irrelevant citations, just for the sake of citing. Do not go on citing from vague sources also. Valid source citations should be done. Try to get pre-submission feedbacks, which is, very, very, very easy these days because of social media and, researchers connect portals, etc. So ask your colleagues or mentors, to check your manuscript or avail the preprint servers or check, social platforms like ResearchGate, etc. to gather informal feedback on the on your manuscript. Ethical compliance, like we have elaborated on this, that all your IRB reports, consent, AI authorship ethics, everything needs to be in place for you to build towards your goal, getting your paper into the hand of the peer reviewers instead of getting it stopped at the editor's desk. For that, we wish you all the luck. Okay. So for all of you patient listeners who have been with us for this webinar, we have a special offer for you. Yeah, we have a special offer, which is of a 20% discount code on Enago Manuscript Review Pack, which is like an add-on on the substantive editing and copy editing services. The pack code is MRP Web 25. This offer is valid up to 30th September. So don't miss out. You simply upload your document and choose the 3-in-1 pack add-on. The entire code, enter this code, that is MRPWEB25, all in capitals. Okay. And don't miss out. Take the advantage of this opportunity to give your manuscript the professional edge that it deserves.
That was an insightful session. Thank you, Dr. Amrita, for helping us learn how to detect AI-generated content proactively. I'm sure everyone's minds are buzzing with even more questions after seeing the walkthrough with Enago reports firsthand. But before we get into that, we are excited to share our latest global initiative that we believe aligns closely with your values and expertise: responsible use of AI in academic publishing. This survey is designed to capture real world insights from professionals like you, those deeply involved in the academic publishing landscape. You can take this short survey in the language of your choice in 5 minutes by scanning the QR codes displayed. We'd highly appreciate it if you could extend the reach of this initiative by sharing the survey with your colleagues and within your network. So without further ado, let's begin with our Q&A session. We've received some questions and I think we are ready to address them. So there is a question which I believe means, why do journals have different acceptable percentages for plagiarism, such as 20 to 25%?
Yes. Hello.
Yes, you are audible.
Yes. So overall, the bench, most of the journals, okay, they have the acceptance between or from 15% to say 25%, but that is completely dependent upon their journal policy. Just the plagiarism percentage here should not be the focus. We have to see for the self citation, for duplicate citations, for known links or resources in the plagiarism aspects that are covered here. Okay. The percentage, say, suppose that a journal sets, okay, is their preferable limit, possibly aligning to the subject areas which they publish in their journal. So they are aware on an average what number of or what percentage plagiarism is usually obtained in the research that is associated to what they publish, okay, in their journals. So accordingly, the benchmark is set. That is entirely at journal's discretion, okay. But however, we have to ensure that we keep our percentage between or up to 15% such that it falls in the compliance, okay, of most of the journals.
Right. Another one asks, if the AI creation rate is high, is there any problem while submitting the paper?
Sorry?
So if the AI creation rate is high, is there any problem while submitting the paper?
Uh, now, this is very, very, significant question because every journal, okay, these days have a policy for declaration of the AI usage in the manuscript. So AI is used for various, things. That is for language polishing, suppose for summarization, for formatting help. But now, if it contributes to generation of original ideas, writing full sections, okay, then that is definitely problematic. Okay.
Right.
So the correct disclosure of the AI usage needs to be done. The correct disclaimers or, according to the journal policies need to be made before applying that.
We have another one. Does Authenticate give us an AI content generated report?
Sorry, I have not understood.
Does Authenticate give us an AI content generated report?
This can be checked on the Turnitin or Authenticate website. I think they have a AI content detection feature. Okay. I'm not currently aware of that, but you can check this on the Authenticate website as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And what are like the ethical and legitimate boundaries in mind for AI aided manuscripts and research proposals? Can you share a few?
So this is like the overlapping question that we had previously, wherein
Okay.
what percentage, is allowed, basically. So, like I said, I would like to reiterate
Hmm.
that AI can be used, okay, only as an aid where we are using it to polish the manuscript. And then we have to declare it accordingly as per the journal policy. But we cannot or should not use it for the idea origination or generating the entire document with AI and thinking that it is original research. That is something which is beyond legitimacy.
Absolutely. So I think that was another question that we have, and we had over time. So that concludes our webinar, Avoid Desk Rejection. And we hope you found today's session informative and insightful. Before we wrap up, I'd like to extend a sincere gratitude to our distinguished speaker, Dr. Amrita, for sharing her expertise with us today. And I would also like each one of you for joining us, for participating in the webinar, asking for your questions. And we wanted to inform you that all of your questions will be answered and shared with you via handout in the follow up emails. So thank you, everyone. We would request you to please fill out the feedback survey displayed after you leave the webinar and join us again for another enlightening session. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for kind attention.